Hey there, welcome to another edition of Comic Book Geezers. I am Pete.
I'm Wild Bill. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today. We've got a fun-filled episode where we're going to look at lots of cool classic comics, all Marvel today. But basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at some classic Marvel villains, as well as look at a couple classic rivalries, and then we're going to end the show with some favorite covers of ours, and we're going to do that at the end of every episode going forward. So Bill's going to start, and he is Dr. Doom is his choice for first classic villain today.
And the oldest in my collection for Dr. Doom is this Hulk issue right here. This is 143, 44.
Was that 67, 68?
This is maybe 67 or 68, I'm guessing.
That's a good one.
I could open it up and find out. Also, Dr. Doom went against Luke Cage. We're getting quite a glare off the plastic bag, but that's all right. I can tilt it.
It's a great cover.
A great
and that's
issue.
actually, it's funny that Doom popped up pretty early in the Luke Cage run when you think about it. I mean, it was only issue number 9. So up until that point...
Is this 9 or 6?
9.
It's 9. Okay.
Up until that point, Luke was basically fighting like most of those local Harlem, thugs and whatnot.
Look at this gem here. This is from Pete's collection, by the way.
Yep. That's a really good one. So basically,
Nice.
Doom took control of Daredevil to kind of get him to do his bidding. And there's actually a part 2 of this, which I don't have, but that's a really good one.
And here's another one, classic matchup of Dr. Doom and Submariner. Again, this is from Pete's collection here. This is another great cover.
Now, those of you know, the Doom and Namor had a historic rivalry that went through the supervillain team-up issues as well.
This is back to my collection. This is an anniversary issue 150 of Iron Man. He clashes with Dr. Doom in issue 149, which I didn't bring because it's just basically a face cover, a real close-up of Doom's face. All you see is the mask and an eyeball. You really don't see much of it. This is a much better cover that shows off the artwork of Dr. Doom.
You would think, if you go back to that a second, you would think, like in the history of Marvel, that these two guys would have fought a lot more than they did, and they really didn't.
Yeah.
And I guess probably because they were too alike, I guess.
You could say it, and indirectly say it, because there's Dr. Doom, he has facial burns, is where he wears a facial mask from an experimental accident gone wrong, where he was guinea pig on himself. And his suit of armor, he never takes it off. He draws power from it. I'm not an expert on Dr. Doom. It wasn't in a lot of my issues from my collection. I know he's really entwined with the Fantastic Four early on.
And he blames Reed Richards for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest of the Fantastic Four.
Because what happened
off with Reed.
they were friends in college and fellow... Here's some Fantastic Fours over. Speaking of Reed Richards, his ears are burning and his arms are stretching. This is part of his story here. Again, Doom, he was blaming Reed Richards because Reed Richards looked at Doom's calculations and saw that there was an error, and he told Victor Von Doom about, hey, you better not go through with this experiment. It has going to have serious repercussions. He didn't listen to him. He got mad, and he went through with the experiment, and he got burned. And his face was really disfigured, so that's why he wears the mask to hide his face. But he's a brilliant scientist, just like Reed Richards. This is in my hand. This is issue 200, and this one here is issue 156.
Jack Kirby cover, if I'm not mistaken, right there.
This one's Kirby?
Yep, pretty sure.
Could be. I have to open it up and find out.
For my money, there were never enough one-on-one battles.
Wrapping up my Dr. Doom collection is a what if Dr. Doom was a hero. And then in the 80s, they did a series called 2099. They did Spider-Man, and another guy called Ravage, and a few other titles. But I picked up Doom 29. This is issue number 1. I actually have 2 copies of it. It's just a foil. It's a foil cover. And that concludes my part for my first villain of our segment here.
What's your opinion on what I just said? I never thought there was enough one-on-one battles between the Thing and Dr. Doom.
The Thing and Dr. Doom? I thought you said Iron Man.
No. Well, earlier, but also when we were going to the
Thing. I don't think I've ever seen him fight the Thing.
They would maybe solo, a panel or two, but never there was never Dr. Doom fought the Thing so many. Dr. Doom fought the Fantastic Four so many times, but there was never I was always waiting for a whole issue of Dr. Doom and the Thing.
It kind of looks like he's putting the Thing down here in this cover. Yeah. See, again, with the armor, see the energy bolts coming from Doom's hand. So there's some kind of parallel. He's kind of like an evil Iron Man in a way, you could say,
Yep.
Except that he's got a little bit of a green cloak. His colors are different, but he's a good read when you read his dialogue, the way he talks. Foolish dolt, it's like, be gone, I am your lord, Victor Von Doom.
That's right.
What's the name of the country?
Latveria.
Latveria, that's it. I always say it wrong. But that concludes my Doctor Doom. So,
and for all of you people who watched that most recent abomination of a movie, the Fantastic Four movie that came out a couple years ago, that is not the origin of Doctor Doom from that movie. So, and if you haven't seen the movie, don't bother because it sucks.
Saving money.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to start off with a classic villain that goes back to the 30s, the 40s, back to the original World Wars, and I'm talking about, of course, the Red Skull. So he obviously appeared in all sorts of really, really old issues with Captain America way back in the day. I've actually got a bunch from the mid-late 60s when Captain America first relaunched his own magazine, starting with issue 100.
Well, let's see. Bring them out.
This is number 101. Okay, so this is the first appearance of the Red Skull and the Sleeper in the new, at the time, new Captain America series, which started with 100. I want to make a little correction from last week's show. I inadvertently said that I didn't have issue 101 of Captain America because that was the origin issue, but I do have it. It's this one. It's 109 is the one that I didn't have. So, and again, that's just a really, really great cover. I'm pretty sure that's a Kirby cover as well.
We get kind of stage fright and nervous on camera. So that could have been,
it happens. We're trying to talk about so much stuff. It's like, you're
we try to keep it short, too, but it's not possible. Our first video was 20 minutes. We were hoping to do 10.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
There's a wealth of information here.
So now we're going to skip ahead to 103. Okay,
nice
this is
cover.
The missing link issue with the Red Skull. Again, the Red Skull and Captain America are forever linked. Always will be, always have been. Just a really classic villain. And this is a two-parter here. So here we've got the Red Skull and some of his German cronies attacking Cap round robin. Another great little cover. I love all these early Captain America issues with the Kirby artwork. It's just fantastic. Then we're going to cut ahead a few issues. So now we've got issue number 115. And you see,
nice.
This.
Trapped in a Cube.
Trapped in the Cube. All right, if you've been
That's
following
before
Marvel.
Rubik's Cube was invented.
Right, the Cosmic Cube, all that stuff. I mean, this is a
Pandora's
part of
box.
Marvel lore there, And so this issue is interesting. So again, this is a continuation of that one here. His Cap's cronies or his buddies in the Avengers join up to help in the fight with the Red Skull, who's down there. So you got Black Panther and Giant Man Vision, right? I believe the issue after this was the first appearance of the Falcon. Worth a lot of money if you can get it. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first appearance of the Red Skull in a Captain America and Falcon book. Okay, and again, this is the one that introduced the fifth sleeper. If you know a little bit about Captain America history, the Skull was always trying to create these giant robot creatures to go and menace mankind.
Either 72 or 73?
I believe so, yes.
Right.
And then, we jump ahead a bit. So we got the Red Skull is back, okay, fighting with Cap and Falcon. This is 184, so this is a 25 center. So this is probably, 74, 75?
I need that one. I don't have it.
It's a good one. And then a continuation of that
story.
story.
I think I have this one. I think I do.
Is number 185, okay. The artwork here on some of these covers, not, in my opinion, not up to par with what they were earlier, but nothing ever was. And then this one here, it's number 227, so we're fast-forwarding a couple of years. This is one from Bill's collection.
This is probably from 1979 or 78. I bought this when I was a teenager. This was actually the first Captain America I bought off the newsstand, as they say. And you'll notice what's different about this cover is there's multiple Red Skulls.
Yeah.
So and Nick Fury being held hostage in the center there with a gun to his head. A great cover for Captain America.
Yep. 1978.
So it's only okay. So yeah. All right.
Cool.
All right. So
Bill's up next. We got a good one here.
I am a Spider-Man fan. I had a collection. When I was a kid, I had teenage years through high school. I had a subscription to Spider-Man, Iron Man, and the Hulk. And in my fourth year of the subscription, when I renewed the fourth year, they'd offer me a fourth title for free if I renewed the other three. And so I picked Daredevil. And it was right at the time when Frank Miller was doing his thing. I was about 4 or 5 issues into Frank Miller when my subscription started. So I had the original Elektra in that run. So my second villain tonight for our story is the Green Goblin. Classic foe. And this is from Pete's collection, by the way. I do not have any sub 100 issues in my collection.
This is a good one. So the thing that makes this unique is very early on. I mean, the Goblin was not really a major foe like he became later on. So here he's almost like a common thug, and in fact, in this issue, he's trying to take over some of the underworld of New York City. to gain a little higher ground.
Yeah, make a name for himself.
Right, but he's not. He wasn't the maniacal, devious character that he became that we knew.
Now that was issue number 23.
23.
Now moving along a few years later, this is issue number 97. Again, this is from Pete's collection.
Yep. Here he's starting to become more of that Green Goblin character that we knew. And the funny thing is, back in this issue here, the identity of the Green Goblin was not revealed yet. But by the time this came around, we knew it was obviously Harry Osborn.
The father was
Norman Osborn. I'm sorry,
father,
Norman
right?
Osborn. Yep.
Now this is a gem that I need, and Pete just recently acquired this. This is the classic 122 Death of the Green Goblin. In my Spider-Man collection, I have issue 112 through 300. I need 114. I need this issue here, and I need 135. I have every other issue. I also have 107. So I got a pretty good run of Spider-Man, but the Green Goblin is classic. Now we're moving.
That was one of the most infamous, memorable issues of the 70s, right here.
Correct.
The death of Gwen Stacy,
which was just prior, and we both have that issue, and we're not going to show it to try and save time. But the Goblin's not on the cover.
That's a good one right there.
This is from my collection, and if you watched our previous episode, we spoke about Pete selling comics for beer money, and that I had when I found this out, I gave him some money for a stack of Spider-Mans, and this was one of those comics that was in that stack. And as you can see, I have taken care of it. That was back in 1986, and this is 31 years later.
So I actually bought this off the newsstand back in whatever year that came out. What was that, 75?
75, I'm going to guess. Yeah, 75, maybe 76.
So again, one of those ones that I've had to rebuy.
But I took good care of it, as you can see, and I'm not sure if this was part of the stack. I may have had this one. I'm not sure. I think I had this, but again, this is part 2 of that story. The Goblin's on the cover. The next Goblin I'm going to show you is very special to me. This is the very first Spider-Man I bought off the news rack. This is like from 1978. I actually bought this in Philadelphia. When I go to Philly, my mom is from Philly, and I have family down there. And hello, Philadelphia, what's happening? But I bought this at this local store. And I never liked Spider-Man because of the cartoon. There was this really horrible cartoon that was made in the 60s. They played it in the 70s. It was like...
It was great.
I didn't like it, man.
I love that. Come on.
I was on like 10 or 6 still frames for 30 minutes.
You gotta love it. Spider-Man would be doing his web, and they would show the same scene over and over of him above the skyline. So, like, where is he actually shooting his
12
web?
12 pictures for a half hour. I couldn't take it. I grew up with Bugs Bunny animation. Good stuff. But anyway, when I read this book, because the Goblin's in it, it was just completely like 100 times better than the cartoon, and I was hooked immediately when I read this book, and that's how I became a Spider-Man. This is the book that did it for me, that turned me into a Spider-Man fan. So I'm proud to show it off to you. And then I was even happier to get the next issue of the story. Great Spider-Man classic Green Goblin cover, the Clash. This is a great use of colors. I love the Spider-Man spotlight logo underneath. The Goblin taking on these mob goons. It's great. So this story,
how Spidey's not actually on the cover.
The story drags out for 5 more issues, but this is 3 and 4. Again, great covers. And as always, there's always something trauma going on in Peter Parker's life.
Oh, yeah.
So we get to the conclusion of the story, and I'll let you know it's not, at this point in time, his father's already passed away. It's not Norman Osborn. And it's not Harry. Everyone suspects it's Harry, but really, at the end, you find out this is actually the Goblin in this story is Harry's psychiatrist. So no one saw that coming. You know, that's like they really strung it out. They do keep you guessing. The last for me is this villain here. This is Spectacular Spider-Man. This is actually Harry Osborn, and that concludes my villains. But I'm going to cheat real quick and throw in a third guy, Electro. This is the only Electro in my whole entire collection, and you can see he's just a shadow. This is a great clash, by the way. Spider-Man gets sneak attacked by Captain America in the beginning, but he avoids the tackle with his spider sense. This is a reprint. I think he actually has the original of this. Yeah. But this is a great issue with Electro fighting Spider-Man. I think it's like in the 60s, this issue, or the 70s. Yeah. And that wraps up my villains. So you're the next guy.
One left. So my next guy, I'm kind of going the Spider-Man route here again. It's hard not to, or it's not hard to pick Spider-Man villains because in my opinion, he had the best villains in all of Marvel. But I decided to go. I was originally going to pick one guy who I've saved for our rivalries section. I decided to go another Spider-Man villain. He's actually not just a Spider-Man villain. It's arguable whether he was more famous appearing in Daredevil or not. Most of what I have is him in Spider-Man. Bill's helped me out with a couple of Daredevil issues here, but I'm talking about, of course, the Kingpin. So here is an issue number 60, a kick-ass cover, by Mr. Johnny...
Bishima?
No, Johnny Romita, right? Johnny Romita, who did so many great Spider-Man issues. I actually had this originally as a Marvel Tales issue,
which were reprints that were printed in the 70s from these books that came out in the 60s.
But I had an opportunity to get the actual original not long ago, so I picked it up. And again, it's throughout the 60s and the 70s, issue-wise, the Kingpin showed up quite a bit.
I believe he originated in Spider-Man as well.
And then moved to Daredevil. I think he became a little more famous in appearing.
Frank Miller kind of made him famous in Daredevil.
So this issue is an original own. I bought this off the newsstand. I was really, really young. Okay, just a couple years old. Actually, my father bought it for me. I didn't buy it myself because I had no money back then. But I had had this in my collection for
eons,
almost 50 years.
Geezer.
Look at it. It's not in the greatest shape, but you know what?
It's amazing.
And it's
still got good colors, though.
Yeah, the cover's great.
And what year is that? Probably like 68?
Yeah, 68 or 69. Yeah.
Nice.
And we're going to go a couple issues ahead, so about 15 issues later, and the Kingpin strikes back again. In fact, it was a two-parter. Let's take a look at both of these here. All right.
Nice.
Okay.
I like this one on the left.
Yeah, it's great.
That's a nice cover.
And in fact, I'm trying to think of which one it is. I believe one of these issues, I don't remember which one it is. I was reading them recently. It has a just fantastic, 5-page spread of the two of these duking it out. Yeah, it's awesome. It's really, really good. And then we're going to go way ahead.
I think I have this one.
So this
163.
This is probably
These are nice.
76 or 77, I would think, right? 30 cents?
Probably 76 to 30 cents. I'm going to say 76.
Yeah. Again, Mr. Romita is still at the helm here, so this is a two-parter.
One of my favorite artists for Spider-Man.
Yep. Again, another really great battle between the Kingpin and Spidey. Really good battle. And then we got a couple Daredevil issues, courtesy of Wild Bill over here. So this is 170 through 172.
These are the Frank Millers. These are the part of my
81.
Frank Miller subscription.
So Frank Miller. So here you go. So this is 1981. So we're going ahead a few years. Okay. There's he appeared in a lot of older Daredevils, which I'm gonna and this.
That's why there's Bullseye in it.
Bullseye. Yep. Exactly. So that's
a lot
very notable.
I was just focusing on those three. These three have, out of my whole series of 12 issues, these three have the Kingpin.
Frank Miller really made his name doing Daredevil in the early
years. And when he left Marvel, he went and did the same thing with DC with Batman and created the Dark Knight, which, was basically the same format as Daredevil. So now...
So we decided to do a little bit different than what we just did. We decided to do classic rivalries. Now, the classic rivalries could involve a villain and a superhero, or a superhero and a superhero, or as Bill's going to show you, a superhero against a bunch of other superheroes or villains. So
I love the Hulk, and as I mentioned, so I picked the Hulk as controversial rivals. He was rivaled.
Hulk fought everybody, basically.
So he's rivaled here against the Fantastic Four in their magazine, and Marvel was classic at doing this, teaming characters up, either putting them against each other or teaming them against each other, for or against. And in this case, they're against each other. Spider-Man versus the Hulk. What a mismatch, you would think.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man, with his skills and agility,
holds his own.
He's able to stay out of danger and not get squashed like a bug. Moving right along, the Hulk versus Iron Man. I love this cover here. This is issue number 9. They also used this cover later on, like 5 years later, for issue number 76. It's the exact same pose, just a little bit different background art. This is probably from like 1980, this one, I'm guessing.
79.
The 79, a 40 center. This was part of my subscription, this Iron Man here. But again, these two go at it quite a bit. And I even have an older Hulk. I didn't bring it with Iron Man, and it's issue like 131. But these are great. I love this one with the chains and the water. That's good artwork there. You'll notice with this one, Ant-Man is in large human form. You don't see that too often. He's a big guy. I had no idea.
Is that a mistake, or does he actually appear that way?
He can get to human size, but you usually don't see him in human size. But that's why I brought that out. Now the Hulk against Captain Marvel. Yeah. In Captain Marvel, this is Jim Starlin art. This is a great, beautiful cover. That's Jim Starlin artwork. This is probably, this is again from like 1979, 1980. This was from my subscription. Again, Captain Marvel, a great cover for the Hulk.
They were a good match, those two.
And then, this is a classic.
Yep.
The Hulk, in case you don't know, trivia question, the 3 strongest heroes in this Marvel Universe, 2 of them are right here pictured. The third guy is Thor. So speaking of Thor, what else is a classic rival of the Hulk versus the Thor? Thor, the God of Thunder. Now this one, great artwork. This is by Sal Buscema.
Yep.
Now this one, the artwork on the outside is by different guys, Buckler and Milgram. But on the inside, it's Sal Buscema again. But what's great about this issue is the Hulk. For those of you who don't know about Thor, he can't pick up. No one can pick up Thor's hammer. But they have done several issues later on in life where people have picked it up. That's debatable. But in this story, no one can pick up the hammer. The Hulk tries to pick it up and he can't. And he gets like really, really mad. And then there's some kind of formula, I don't know, but if X amount of time flies by, if that hammer is not in Thor's hands, it returns back to the human form of the cane. And that's what it did. Wow. It turned into a cane because the Hulk was trying to pick up the hammer and he couldn't, and it switched back to his stick, which is when he's Mr. Blake, right, in human form. Yep. So when he lifted it up, the Hulk was like, hammer has turned into nothing but a puny stick, which is great.
He's got no use for that.
It's awesome. And then my last classic battle, rivalry, is Hulk versus Daredevil. Talk about a mismatch. Yeah. Come on. Daredevil doesn't stand a chance. No, I'm not going to tell you the end because, Marvel, everything ends in a tie, but I will give one little spoiler. Bob dies at the end. That's a joke. There's no Bob in this story. All right.
And my rivalry. So, again, I chose a little bit different. I chose a classic rivalry superhero villain. For me, this has been one of the best. I mean, there's a lot of great Spider-Man rivalries, right? We talked about the Green Goblin
classic endless villains from Spider-Man.
But for me, like Doc Ock is just, one of my favorite rivalries.
Sinister.
Yeah. So what I did was I have an early 4-issue run storyline with Spidey versus Doc Ock. Doc Ock kind of getting introduced to Aunt May, right? All of a sudden, he's in Aunt May's life. And then after a battle...
That does not bode well with Peter Parker.
No, it does not. And then Doc Ock somehow causes Spider-Man to get amnesia and convinces him to work with him doing crime for an issue. And Spider-Man has no idea why he's working with Doc Ock. He has no idea who he is, but he knows it's not right. His spider sense keeps going off, and he says, why am I doing this? But I don't know. So let's take a look at these. All right, so this is the first one here. Great cover. I got this recently at a comic convention.
That's nice. He's got an amazing collection of sub 100 issues of Spider-Man.
There's another one. So there's Aunt May.
Makes me jealous to see these. It's amazing.
And then this one, Bill loves this cover.
I love it. I just saw this cover today for the first time before we shot. Like, this is an amazing cover, dude. I've never seen it before. It's amazing. It's great for this. It's great for this video too.
Oh yeah.
Got to bring that back up again. One more. Go ahead, put it side by side with this one, man. This is Doc Ock. This other one he's talking about where he goes and does crime and doesn't know why. He's got a kind of amnesia. But this is beautiful right here.
Now, you notice like the appearance of Doc Ock changed a little bit like over the years. Like he was actually a little bit stocky, short, really short hair, and the glasses were a little bit
different. He needs to go to the gym.
Yeah, he needs to go to the gym. You'll see some of the ones I'm going to show you.
But when you got 8 arms, who's got time for the gym?
So how about this iconic issue, right? The wedding with Aunt May.
They get married, yeah.
This was a big deal back then. I remember being a kid reading this and like, holy crap,
Yeah, especially a major villain of Spider-Man marrying his dear, sweet Aunt May. It's like, what are you, nuts?
So then another like multi-issue storyline. So here you got Doc Ock. All of a sudden, the ghost of the Hammerhead pops in. So there's the first one. Great cover, by the way. This was always one of my favorite covers when I was a kid. Just a great interpretation of Doc Ock. Yeah, and then these two here, all right, with the Hammerhead. The Hammerhead was a big crime boss, and he would kind of pop in and out of some of these storylines for years, wanting to be a numero uno guy. And then here's one from Bill's collection, which honestly, I never knew Doc Ock appeared in any other superhero issues.
Surprise!
Surprise! Here he is on Daredevil.
Frank Miller again. So again, a great artwork, good storyline. So that wraps up
our regular features. So, like I said, we're going to end each issue, end each episode, quickly with some classic covers and favorites of ours. So, Bill's going to go first.
I'm going to go with my favorite Captain America cover of all time because I like the Hulk, and this is just great. Because if he didn't have that shield, his face would be part of that wall. Mincemeat. This is a great cover, and I bought this off the newsstand, so that's special to my Captain America collection, which isn't very big. And then Captain Marvel. I only had 2 Captain Marvels until last year when I started buying again. This was one of those 2.
And if you're going to have any, or if you're only going to have one, this is a great one to have because look who's here.
Thanos.
The big baddie himself, who is like all the rage now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
This is a tough book to get your hands on nowadays.
It is.
This is one of the first ones. I had 2. This is one of them. And now I have close to 40 or 45 books. I started buying a lot of Captain Marvel last year. And a great character. It's tough to describe him, but very interesting character. So
for my 2 classic covers, I actually had a bunch of Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That I could pick. There's one, especially it's in the Strange Tales that I love, probably one of my favorite of all time. But as far as like the actual Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Run, I love this classic Steranko cover.
Yeah,
it's just
awesome.
Steranko and Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. were just a perfect match together, and I really dig that one a lot. And this other one here, I was almost going to pick number 1 of this character, the first issue, but we're going to do a number 1 issue very soon.
Yeah, we're going to do an episode with just number 1 issues.
Classic number 1s. And so I decided not to pick that, even though I probably like that artwork a little bit better. But this is also a classic cover. This is Prince Namor the Submariner number 2 versus Triton of the Inhumans. This is drawn by Mr. Sal Buscema, who we talked about before, who a lot of you probably know. Nice. He did a long run on the Submariner. He also, of course, did Conan for many, many years.
Oh, yeah.
Great artist. And this is a great battle, between 2, underwater heroes who, by the time they finally realize that they shouldn't be fighting, they
make them allies later on in life. But
yeah.
They reprinted that issue in the early 80s, and it was called Tales to Astonish, which was like volume 2, because there was a previous Tales to Astonish. But I have that. It was a 40-cent book at the time, and it's the same cover, and I had the reprint issue.
The funny thing is, underwater, these guys are pretty well matched. I mean, Namor obviously is strong, because Namor probably, you mentioned before the 3 strongest guys in Marvel, and you mentioned the Hulk and Silver Surfer and Thor. He's probably not far behind. Right? Yeah. I would say he's in the top 5.
As long as he's in water. He's
arguably one of the strongest guys out there. Out of water is different. But the funny thing about this fight is as soon as Triton's out of water, he's done.
Yeah.
He doesn't have long shelf life out of water. Namor can fight a little bit out of water. Yeah. In fact, one of my favorite Namor battles, and we'll talk about it in a later issue. How about the time he fought Iron Man?
Oh, yes.
On the beach.
A couple of times.
One of those first times. Great battle. The entire issue is just the 2 of them slugging it out. It's so good.
I have quite a bit extensive Iron Man collection, and there's quite a few issues where they fight. Namor is a constant thorn in Iron Man's side.
Yeah. A lot of people
they clash.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think that wraps up this episode, our second episode for Comic Book Geezers. I want to thank you for watching. I'm Wild Bill saying peace.
I'm Pete, and we'll see you next time.
Episode.
We got some good stuff coming for you. Between the 2 of us, we got a lot of really old classic stuff, and we're really excited to talk about it.
We got a lot of different ideas, too. So thank you for watching, and if you got any feedback, we're all ears,
Yeah. So subscribe, leave feedback, tell us what you liked, what you don't like, and what you want to see, and
we'll put it out there for you if you got it.
Exactly.
All right.
See you next week.
Thanks, guys. All right. Take care.
Later. Bye.
Bye.